What's up, guys? Danger here, bringing you a basic video tutorial on helicopter flying. Hopefully this will give you all the tools necessary to get your ass up in the air and keep you there. Like I said, this is real basic, kind of an intro if you're new to flying or if you've always been intimidated by flying. Maybe this will shed some light on it for you and help you out a little bit. So first things first, let's go over the HUD inside the helicopter, because it's somewhat important to know what's going on while you're in here. First thing is this little guy over here. Not the most important thing in the world, but not a bad thing to keep your eye on from time to time. This is your altitude. Red is definitely bad. I hardly ever check this while I'm playing multiplayer, to be honest. But you never know. It might come in handy. Next up, we've got this is basically the angle you're tilted at, left and right, in degrees, one extreme to the other. Again, not really important, but at the same time, something to keep your eye on. In the center here, we've got this is your vertical, basically the way your nose is facing, up in the air or down. The straight line, as you can see right here, basically means that you are level horizontal or vertically, and then the top ones that are slanted down means your nose is facing down, and I mean obviously the bottom ones are you're facing back, and when your nose is facing down is when you're gathering speed and you're going fast, and when your nose is tilted back, you're gaining altitude and you're rising up in the air. Next thing over here, this little guy up here is your extinguisher ready. Also, this is where it'll tell you if your flares are ready. Another good thing to really keep your eye on in multiplayer. And probably the most important thing, or I should say the most important two things, are this guy. This is your best friend, who is going to help you stay alive and help you out as much as possible in racking up points. And then this little box underneath, this is probably what you'll be watching the most, and this is the gunner, and it's his point of view. The little box inside of it is basically him and where he's looking. In the center means where it's at right now, center straight forward. He's looking straight forward in the center, to the left and to the right. Obviously he's looking that way. And then if it's right in the middle or down towards you, he is basically looking straight underneath you. And this is really important to keep an eye on, because when you're flying, you want to try to accommodate him the best you can and keep him shooting at whatever he's shooting at. I don't know if you've ever gunned for somebody and been flying around and you're looking off to the left and they turn right. It takes forever to swing that gun around, and more than likely you're going to miss the pass that the pilot's taking on whatever objective they're trying to attack. So just a good thing to keep in mind is to keep your eye on this when you go to turn. Just glance down at it and try to keep him lined up with whatever it is he's shooting at. And if he's looking to the right, try to make a right-hand turn if possible. Sometimes it's not always possible, because you might have an object in your way, building a tower or something like that. You might have to go left, and it's just the way it goes. But if majority of the time you can keep him on target, it's going to work out better for the both of you. So it's always good to have somebody in there that you can talk with, a friend, because communication is really key when you're flying in a helicopter. I fly with a couple of my buddies, and we're always constantly communicating. I'm turning before I turn left, I'll say turning left, and if they're right, they can start swinging the gun around, and it gives them that that little bit more time to get into position while I'm turning. Same with flares. We always run double flares, me and my gunner, just because it will help you stay up in the air for a really long time, because I always use my flare first, and then they always get the second one, and it's just kind of a understanding that we have. And by the time that they get lock on again, if they've shot 2 rockets at us, mine are recharged by then, and then I use mine, and then his are recharged, and you can kind of see how it works. A really good pilot and a really good gunner can just stay up in the air for the whole game because they're constantly rotating them out. Unless I've had jets hit me before, and some people do that because they can't shoot you down. They'll just they'll ram you because they can't actually shoot you down. So something to keep in mind. Let's jump into some video footage here that hopefully will help you guys out and get you rolling here. So let's get into this and see where it goes from there. All right, first things first, the very basics. Right trigger is basically takes you up in the air. Left trigger takes you down in altitude. And right stick is your top blade. This is more than likely if you crash 99% of the time. This is why, is because of your right stick. So you want to be careful with that. Left stick is basically your rudder. It rotates you around. You can hover all day and just use your left and right stick to spin around. Really good thing to know. When you're using your right stick in combination with your left stick, you got to use them both together to kind of counterbalance each other, as you'll see when I'm doing my turns. But when you're flying, just take it easy, and just when you turn, do it in moderation. Real small movements, a little here and there. The longer you hold it, the harder it is to pull out of turning. And that's just something to keep in mind when you're flying all the time, is just use real slight corrections all the time. A little here and a little there, and as you get better at it, you can hold it a little bit longer, and you can turn a little bit faster, and you can build upon it. But if you're watching my hands right now, I'm constantly just adjusting, and I'm using my left stick to get me turning the direction I wanted, and then I basically use the right stick to speed up my turn. And if you watch my hands real close, I'm constantly counterbalancing myself. When I'm starting to go right there, I'm going left. I'm rolling down into the left with the other stick, and then when I come out of it, what I like to do is I like to tap the left trigger, and that helps stop you. It helps you pull out of that turn, so you don't carry that momentum through. It's just a real nice way to turn real sharp and just stop. So this is real super slow-mo, my hands in the game. Starting my turn, sticks down, rolling it around, getting me into position. I watch my left finger when I come out of it. Boom. I tap it, and then I go opposite direction with my left and my right stick to help stop me out of that turn. And that's really the basics of how I turn. And sometimes it's a more extreme turn depending on how my nose is facing. But it just, I don't know how to really explain it. You'll kind of start to get the hang of it, but wider turns you just do a lot slower, and faster turns you just crank a lot harder. But as you can see, I'm constantly turning with my left stick, counterbalancing with my right, and that's really what it boils down to in the end. And it's just real. I mean, the best thing I could probably do is just let you watch my hands and the game at the same time, because I'm constantly making adjustments, and I'm constantly just slow. Like here's a lot wider of a turn, and you can see how long I hold it, but I still tap that button, the left trigger when I come out of my turn, to help basically stop me from turning. And it helps stop that momentum that you have when you come around. And other than that, there's really not much to it. When you're flying, you really want to keep low to the ground like this, and don't worry about the tops of the trees. You can get away with a little bit as far as hitting the tops of the trees, but when you're flying fast and low like this, it makes you a really hard target for people to hit. And other helicopters around you, it makes it hard for them to hit you as well, because you're so low that you're out of their field of vision. And then people on the ground have other things blocking their view from getting locked on you, such as buildings and other things like that. So there'll be times when you have to go up high in altitude, if you got jets chasing you and stuff like that, and you got heat seekers, but that's a whole nother ball game. So if you can learn to fly low and fast, you'll be a terrorizer to people, and plus it just helps your gunner out a ton because they can run flares instead of zoom optics, and they can still see really good, to shoot enemies on the ground. Another thing that you want to really practice is hovering, and like I said, that's where your little center gauge comes in there, your vertical alignment. If you can just get to where you can get that center mark lined up, and then you tap your button, really all you got to do to hover is just kind of tap your right and your left stick, and it will help you just kind of stay where you're at. Another very important thing that you need to practice while you're in here is landing, because landing will become very important, especially if you got to pick somebody up, or if you've taken a lot of damage and you need to stop and repair yourself. That's going to be real key to making your helicopter experience last that much longer. If you can land and repair yourself, it makes a big difference. Not a whole lot more I can tell you other than to get in here and practice a lot. Just grab a buddy and come in here and play. And even if you don't have somebody you can play with, just go into co-op mode and load up this mission, and it will pair you up with somebody. And even if you don't land in the pilot seat right off the bat, just hang in there, because eventually you'll get your turn, and it takes some patience. I probably spent 4 or 5 hours flying around this board. But the great thing about doing this is you're kind of killing 2 birds with 1 stone, because you can unlock a bunch of different guns that are only unlockable through co-op mode that you can in turn use in multiplayer mode, such as the G3A3, the M39 sniper rifle, and there's quite a few. The MP7, I believe. Some pistols, just a lot of great stuff. So while you're in here learning how to fly and you're shooting people and you're racking up points, you're unlocking stuff that you can use in multiplayer. So it's really just a great way to learn, because if you've ever played Conquest or Rush and you've tried to get in a helicopter, it's virtually impossible to learn to fly, just because you don't have the time that you need to gain your bearings and get that experience with the controls. And it takes some time, trust me. You'll crash into the ground a lot, but don't get discouraged. Just hang in there and keep flying, and you'll improve. Within the first hour, I was just running kind of laps around this little board and running down the creek bed and through town, just kind of like I am right now. Just honing my skills, and it will come pretty fast. And then once you get into multiplayer, it's a little bit different story, because you got people shooting at you a lot more aggressive than in this map, but over time you'll start to kind of learn. You'll get the hang of it, and flying's the first step, and then avoiding jets and helicopters and rockets and stuff like that's a whole nother step. But you just kind of got to build upon it. So let's go into some multiplayer stuff. I want you to first just listen to this audio in this clip.
We have lost the objective. We have lost the objective. We've started hostile anti-tanks through the area. Proceed to car.
Okay, so this is the same clip. Basically, the beeping is somebody's trying to get lock on you. When there's tone, that means that they've got a lock on you, and then the beeping is there's actually a rocket in the air. So what you want to do is when you're flying your helicopter, and you get that beeping of that lock, and then you get solid tone, you do not want to use your flares right away, because they're testing you. People on the ground or whoever's chasing you is testing you, and they're just begging you to use your flares so that they can get lock on you again and shoot you down. So you got to be real patient and wait for that ticking noise. And when you hear that, that is when you want to use your flares. So just keep that in mind when you're playing multiplayer. If you got your guy in there you can talk with, and they've got flares too, I mean, it's even that much better, and you can just stay up there that much longer. Another thing you want to keep in mind is when you do get heat seekers and you're chasing after a jet or a helicopter or something like that, you've got 2. So once you get lock on, you use one of them to shoot at them and get them to use them flares, and then get lock on them again with that second rocket, and you're going to get a hit with it more than likely. So that should be enough to get you guys started. If you have any questions or comments, if I missed something, just throw it down there in the comment section below, and I'll do my best to answer it. I appreciate all you guys, and if you enjoy this stuff, subscribe, rate, thumbs up, thumbs down, and I'll see you guys in the next episode. I hope all is well, and I'll see you on the battlefield.